Good morning, good afternoon, evening. This is Giancarlo Montanari from CAPS, Florida State University. I'm presenting the paper Increasing Grid and Asset Resilience, an Automatic and Unsupervised Approach to Capacity Discharge Monitoring in Cables, which is co-authored by Freddy Ghosh and Paolo Seri from Bologna University, which was the university where I was working before moving to FSU in the United States. As you see, the paper is focusing on techniques to improve resiliency of networks in a situation where we have an increasing presence of hybrid grids, renewable energy. We have a widespread diffusion of power electronics, which makes the waveforms, the voltage waveforms, not anymore really an AC sinusoidal. And this will impact on electrical insulation reliability because of the unexperienced types of electrical and thermal stresses that occur in electrical apparatus. We have unpredictable levels of intrinsic aging factor that are those on which we base the design of insulation systems, but we also may have a presence of unpredictable extrinsic accelerated aging factors, such as capacity charges in AC and DC and space charge in DC. Due to this intrinsic and extrinsic accelerated aging potentiality that is brought about by the waveforms and the load variation that are not anymore those that are typically used for conventional design of insulation systems, we may have a life that is much shorter than the expected one, and due to that, we need to change the way that we design the insulation system and also look at the possibility of monitoring the insulation system health conditions. This will increase the resilience of the grid and asset components that otherwise would be at risk of a premature failure. Since capacity discharge is one of the most harmful and in general the fastest extrinsic insulation aging process, which cause premature failure of asset components, we will focus in this paper on capacity discharge diagnostics and health assessment. The topic of capacity discharge diagnostics is very well known, but what we want to show here is that we develop a technique mostly based on enhanced types of software that allows capacity discharge measurement and monitoring to be performed through automatic and unsupervised technology. We call it SRID thread that consists of first step is separation, then second step is recognition. We recognize if what we have separated is PD or noise. We reject the noise, and then we have to identify the type of capacity charges that are occurring, because depending on the typology of the defect generating capacity charge, we may have a completely different maintenance action. And then finally, we go through the identification of the diagnostics, and we take a decision on what to do on the insulation system. Here are some examples that I will review very fast about measurements of capacity charges in medium voltage cable termination under AC and DC voltage through this automatic and unsupervised procedure. On the left side, you see a global pattern that we measure for AC and DC waveforms. You see phase resolved PD pattern for AC and time resolved PD pattern for DC. On the right side, we have the clustering procedure, that is the one that is allowing separation. We have some variables that are based on pulse shape and other quantities that will distinguish between the types of different waveforms. We still do not know if there are PD or noise, but then, as you see in the circle, with the recognition that is based on other parameters, mostly statistical, we can identify if what is inside the specific cluster is PD or noise or other PD or what else. So we can reject finally PD, and this works for, we can reject finally noise, and this works for DC and AC, and we can focus on PD. And you see below the PD pattern where we have noise and PD separated, and this will allow identification of a source generating PD. And finally, we have to look at what we can do with these results, and what we can do is to develop, for example, a dynamic health index, DHA, that you see in the figure below, will go as a function of aging time, will increase, possibly if we have aging, accelerated aging, and we go, for example, from a green zone where the installation system is working properly to a yellow zone where attention is needed, to a red zone where most likely maintenance has to be performed, and this is fully automatic. And in conclusion, there is not too much to say because the time is out. However, this approach will allow will provide a contribution to increase the resilience of the grid. Thank you very much for your attention.